Greetings, this is M squared, and we're going to solve some simple absolute value equations. Now remember, absolute value means how far a number is away from zero. And there are 4 steps I want you to concentrate on every time you solve an absolute value equation. The first thing is to get the absolute value sign and whatever's in it alone. And you want to check for negatives on the right side. We'll talk about that in a minute, but that's really important because you can't be negative away from zero. So we're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to teach you how to write 2 equations, then solve each equation and check each equation. So the first step is to get the absolute value alone. You'll see that in the first 2, that's already true. That's why these are simple ones. So we look over here at number 1. We already have the absolute value of x minus 7 alone. So what 2 equations we write are, we always take what's inside the absolute value sign. So I'm going to have x minus 7 and x minus 7. Those are always going to be my 2 equations. And then as long as this isn't negative, we're going to say, okay, x equals 12 the first time and x equals negative 12 the next time. And why that is because the absolute value means how far I am away from 0. And it says that I'm 12 away from 0. So whatever's in here can equal a 12 or a negative 12 because those are the only 2 numbers that are 12 units away from 0 on the number line. So that's why I set it equal to 12 and negative 12. And now we just add them, solve them. So we're going to add 7 to both sides. We're going to get x equals 20, let's see, 7, 8, 9, oh, I'm sorry, 19. Not quite 20. Okay, so x equals 19, and you can check it. What's 19 minus 7? It's 12. How far is 12 away from 0? It's 12. Now over here, we're going to add 7 to both sides. And negative 12 plus 7 is negative 5. So x equals negative 5. Let's check that one. Negative 5 minus 7 is negative 12. How far is negative 12 from 0? It's 12 units. So those are our 2 answers. So we got the absolute value alone. We set up 2 equations, one that equals the positive value, one that equals the negative value, and then we solved and checked them. Okay, next. Sometimes you can just look at it and see it, 4 times 5 is 20. But what I want you to notice here is this is alone and then this is negative. So what it's asking you is it wants all the times when 4 times a number is negative 20 away from 0. Well, you can't be negative 20 away from 0 because on the number line, no matter where you are, you're always a positive distance from 0. Like this was 5 and this was negative 5. They're both 5 away from 0. So we can't have a negative 20, we can't be negative 20 away from 0. So if this is alone, all alone on one side, then the right side cannot be negative. And if it is, you say, well, that's impossible. There are no solutions for that equation. Okay, so that's why it's important to check for the negatives after you get this alone. Because if there's a negative on that side, check to make sure you've done everything right. But then if there's a negative, it's no solution. All right, looking at this one. We have to get it alone. Now, it's not alone now. The absolute value of x plus 3 is not alone because it's being multiplied by 4. So how do we get rid of multiplication? We divide. So we divide by 4 on the left. It cancels the 4s, so I'm left with the absolute value of x plus 3. And 24 divided by 4 is 6. Now that it's alone, check for negatives. There are no negatives. So now I make 2 equations. I always put whatever's inside the absolute value on the left side, and then whatever's there on the right side. And then the second equation is the same thing, except I change the sign on the number that it was equal to. And so I minus 3 from both sides. Do these all together. I get x equals 3 on this one, and x equals negative 9 on this one. And then to check, we always check into the original. 3 plus 3 is 6. The absolute value of 6, or how far is that away from 0, is 6. 4 times 6 is 24. When I put a negative 9 in, negative 9 plus 3 is 6. Negative 6. How far is negative 6 from 0, or what is the absolute value of negative 6? It's 6, so 6 times 4 is 24. Okay, what I want you to notice this one is that it has a negative sign here, but this is not alone yet. So I can't say, oh, there's no solution because I haven't gotten it alone yet. That's why that's the first step. So be really careful. Some people make a mistake on that. So I've got to get rid of a minus 8, and I do that by adding 8 to both sides. So now I have the absolute value of x minus 10 is equal to positive 5. And notice that there's no negative on the right side when this is alone, so it's not a no solution. So I want to do my two equations again. And those of you who are really good at solving equations, you probably won't have to go through all these steps here, but you always want to check just in case you made a mistake, and that should be a negative 5. Sorry about that. Okay, so we get x equals 15, or x equals 5. When we go back to check, 15 minus 10 is 5, and 5 minus 8, the absolute value of 5 is 5, minus 8 is negative 3. When I put a 5 in, I get 5 minus 10, which is negative 5. The absolute value of negative 5 is 5, minus 8 is negative 3. So those are some simple ones. If you need the next level, go on to the next solving absolute value equations where they get a little more difficult and there's a little more to do to get the absolute value expression alone. This is M Squared signing out.